What's up, Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, along with my partner in crime, my tag team partner, Soapy Muffin. Soapy, how you doing today?
Hey.
We're kind of...
We're delayed already. I can tell, by the way.
So here's the thing. We were delayed, then we were good. I'm like, okay, before the show, maybe the delay won't happen right off the start. And then, I'm like, oh, we're back to delayed, which is always fun when Soapy and I record. But... Soapy, we're doing something new. This is a brand new venture on the MVP Entertainment channel. You and I are dipping our toes into the wrestling pay-per-view review crowd. You know, everyone does it, so why not us?
Yeah, may as well. I mean, there's no reason not to.
I mean, we watch wrestling. Like, sometimes the older wrestling is better than newer wrestling, right? I sound like an old head already.
I mean, hey, you grew up in the 90s, I grew up in the 2000s, so I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
I also grew up in the PG era, so take that as you will. I
was out by the PG era, for sure. Definitely out. I'm going to turn you up a little bit because it seems like you're a little soft on my end. But yeah, this is, here's the thing. We don't have a name for it yet because I'm going to be completely honest. The idea I took this from, because like I said, there's numerous people that have done their version of this before. I think the name is, what is it? Wrestling Regret or Wrestling with Regret?
Yeah, Wrestling with Regret.
He does a lot of old pay-per-view reviews. Simon from What Culture did the retro ups and downs. My idea basically from this is to, I'm going to say steal, basically borrow an outline that I've watched somebody else do, the Kind of Funny crew, with their in reviews. And I'm like, oh, they're not doing WWE pay-per-views. We could do that same thing with WWE pay-per-views and do podcasts and talk about it. So this is our version of the wrestling review of what pay-per-views go. First off, we don't have a name for it. We will eventually get a name, Soapy, I assume. We will come up with... Here's the thing. I don't know about you. I am not a clever person. Coming up with stuff on the spot when it comes to names is not my forte. I need to sit down with my MacBook and kind of crunch some numbers and be like, okay, what sounds witty, what doesn't. But eventually we'll get a name. This is just going to be something where we sit around, we talk. We're going to do it. Soapy and I decided we're going to do it bi-weekly. So how it's going to work is you'll get the Patreon page and channel member. Well, channel member, if you're a sports member, you'll get it. But we don't have channel members here. If you're a Patreon, you'll get it a week early, but we'll do 2 of these shows, 2 of these Patreon, or 2 of these podcasts a month. And you'll get them a week early. And then basically we're going to have a vote. So basically I get a pay-per-view that I put in. Soapy puts in a pay-per-view. You guys in the comment section, let us know what you guys want on the votes, as well as in our Discord. I'll talk about all that in a second. But yeah, we're going to have a vote for the patrons to vote each and every week. So number one, if you want to get in and have these a week early and get in on the official votes, go ahead and look at our Patreon page. That link is down below. Gold members get it a week early. Silver members just get to vote on the official vote. But nominations, let us know what you guys want to see in the comment section, and we will take the highest nominated pay-per-views and put them on the vote for the patrons to vote on. If you want to join our Discord, it's absolutely free. That link is down below as well. We're having wrestling conversations each and every day in our Discord, and you can nominate pay-per-views in the Discord as well. And then last but not least, hit that sub button, that like button. Let us know what you liked about the show and what you liked about the podcast. But Soapy, before we start into everything, I have some info to start off this show about this pay-per-view. For those you don't know, we're doing the Royal Rumble from 2004. It says it right down there in the description and the title. This was the pay-per-view that took place on January 25th, 2004. It was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, not too far, a stone's throw away from Jake Neverman, in the once known Wachovia Center, which is now Wells Fargo Center. The attendance was just over 17,000, with 17,289 people at the event. And Soapy, the buy rate. This is this is something that some people care about. I don't know if you do. The buy rate was about 582,000, 3,000 less buys from the Royal Rumble in 2003, but it was 7,000 more than the Royal Rumble in 2005.
Oh, that's actually really weird because, I mean, obviously, I don't know exactly what happened in 2003 and 2005. Mm-hmm. Effectively, obviously, this is one of the Rumbles that are kind of more well-known.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, because of the result of the Rumble. History was made, even if people do want to forget the person who won the Rumble. We're going to get into that later.
Yeah.
Not even trying to, like, dance around that. That is just that is a topic that is very, like,
it's a dark history for wrestling.
Yeah. So it's a part of wrestling you wish didn't happen, but it's a sad result of it. Yeah, like that's actually really interesting though that this one had such a low buy rate because throughout history, obviously, wrestling has kind of not seen a decline. I mean, obviously, in technical money, if you include inflation, it's seen the loss in money. Obviously, Territory Days made a lot of money. Attitude Era made a lot of money, and this being in Ruthless Aggression. Who expected to, this is one of the high points of wrestling. Who expected to, get a lot of buys. Then it's still kind of showing that little bit of a trend of it starting to fall.
Yeah.
And it's also because this is the pay-per-view we're starting to officially see, like, the change of the guard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, by this point, I think The Rock's already gone off to Hollywood. Brock is almost on his way out. Mm-hmm. Like, we're literally, like, a couple months from Brock leaving.
We're about to get, like... And that's the thing we're going to talk about here, but like looking at the numbers so that I have the exact ones, the Royal Rumble in 2003 had about 585,000 buy rates. Then you had 582, like I said, for this year's. And then the Royal Rumble in 2005 had 575,000 buys. So within 2 years, you've lost about 10,000 buys on your pay-per-view. And it's funny because you say where we are in wrestling. 2003, you had Brock Lesnar eliminate The Undertaker to win the Royal Rumble. And then like this year, like we're going to get to it in the Rumble, but this is the year where something happens in the Rumble that sets up a match at WrestleMania that if we ever do the WrestleMania Soapy from 2004, it might be the worst match ever.
It is one of them, to say the least. So... it's definitely up there. Yeah, like, I think that's the really interesting thing, though, is because we're starting to see that transition of, like, obviously the Attitude Era is long gone by this point.
We got Sheriff Stone Cold Steve Austin.
By this point, Stone Cold is not wrestling anymore. Nope. Neck is fully messed up. He's done for. The rest of, like, the Attitude Era people have already started to move on. And obviously at this point, we're starting to also get into a really bad point of wrestling that I have shit-talked multiple times, the Reign of Terror. We're just on the cusp of it. We're in the middle of it at this point.
Uh-huh.
I'm not looking forward to this. Yeah. But, we're in the middle of that. We're seeing the transition of, like, now we're starting to see some of the newer stars become more prevalent. Like, obviously, RVD's in the company by this point. John Cena's here. Randy hasn't split from Evolution just yet, but we're on the cusp of that as well.
This is IC title Randy Orton.
This is, I think, just before his second match with Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we're just on the cusp of Randy Orton becoming a star.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is, like, I want to say, like, in between a boom period, but, like, even then when you think about it, Batista is still just starting to appear on TV. Like, we are on the cusp of a big thing in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
By this point as well, I think Edge is already starting to be a pretty big star.
Yeah, he didn't have a match on this Rumble, but he was in the Rumble match.
Yeah. Where it's like he's already starting to kind of grow into a star to where now it's like, okay, this is basically the generation that raised me on wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Where now, like, obviously that's the part I'm looking forward to, but then I'm like, fuck, I gotta watch like 10 more title reigns from Triple H.
Yeah. So, like, I'm looking just at pay-per-views here, just at Randy Orton in 2004. So after the Rumble happened, the next pay-per-view that he had a match on was WrestleMania, where it was basically Evolution, Batista, Randy Orton, and Ric Flair defeated Mick Foley and The Rock in a handicap tag match at WrestleMania. Then Backlash '04 in April, he defeated Mick Foley or Cactus Jack in a no hold bars falls count anywhere match. He had a Sunday Night Heat match against Val Venus. Hello, ladies. For the IC title. And then later that year, he was on Bad Blood. That's where he defeated Shelton Benjamin for an IC title match. And then his last pay-per-view was, Vengeance, is where he lost the IC title to Eddie Guerrero in July of '04.
So literally, we're right on the cusp of this.
Oh, and then SummerSlam. So he loses the IC title in July. Then at SummerSlam, beats Chris Benoit for the heavyweight championship. We get a title change.
Yeah. So we literally are right on the cusp of this.
Yeah.
Like, this is just before, like, that big push is coming.
Jesus Christ, I forgot about this year. So he loses the IC title in July. He then wins the heavyweight championship at SummerSlam. And then, where is it? I just had it. Then at Unforgiven a month later, loses it to Triple H.
And then that starts his title journey. The longest Randy's ever gone without a belt.
Yeah.
Just to imagine, he caught up real fucking quick with Triple H in that record.
Oh, he did. But yeah, that was then later. So later this year in '04, that's where we see the Randy is broken away. And then it's him going up against Trips, him going up against Batista. And then the Randy Orton versus Evolution starts to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm bad with words sometimes. Gain ground is what I'll say, and kind of come to fruition, and we get that whole storyline.
Yeah, because by that point, we see him slowly make his way through Evolution again, but obviously still to just falter at Triple H. Mm-hmm. They have the whole thing that basically he tries to coerce Ric Flair away from Evolution. Mm-hmm. He's like, "You're better than that, Rick," and then Rick ends up just being like, "I'm 55 years old, bitch."
I was gonna say this is. We'll get to this in the first match, but we are about 4 years away from Ric Flair's retirement match with Shawn Michaels, because I believe that was 2008.
Retirement.
Yeah, retirement. Like in-ring retirement is what I'm saying. Like official.
First time in ring.
First time in ring. He went to Impact after that, right?
Yes, and then wrestled in Impact, and everyone's like, "Can we stop?"
Or I'm sorry, was it TNA at the time?
It was TNA at the time, and then they became Impact.
Yeah, but yeah, this pay-per-view should be a fun one. Also, I forgot to mention this early on. Thank you to Tim for bringing this pay-per-view to light. He was one of the big ones in the Discord that was like, yes, this needs to be the pay-per-view that needs to be nominated. It beat out your nomination, Soapy, of December to Dismember. Beat out mine of mine was Bash at the Beach 1996, where Hogan got trash thrown at him because he became Hollywood Hulk Hogan and kind of went full heel NWO. And then Jake had I think Jake's was like Vengeance of this same era, like early 2004s, 2006. So
how much Jake gave him?
What?
I don't remember.
What was it?
So wasn't it Dave's? That was the suggestion instead of Jake's? Or did Jake give one? I just got mixed up.
I think Jake gave one because Dave was like, I don't care what you guys watch. And I think it was like Judgment Day or Vengeance, one of the two. I would have to look it up, but basically it lost to the Royal Rumble because the Royal Rumble trumps all. It's my favorite kind of match. A couple fun facts before we get into the match by match, Soapy, is did you know that this was the first Royal Rumble match where there was an on-screen graphic showing the name and number of all the entrants, a practice that became standard?
Did not know that.
I
thought they always did that.
No, apparently they did not. Like, I mean, for you would be like, oh, they always did it because what? How young were you in '04?
Well, by the time this pay-per-view happened, I was 3 years old, so I wasn't even watching wrestling yet.
Yeah, so for your entire life, they've always done this.
But I mean, I thought I could have swore I watched an older Royal Rumble and they had it.
Apparently they did not. Like I'm older and I was like, I didn't even know. I was like, this is the Rumble that started that. Also, this was the first Royal Rumble match to utilize the current, as of 2015, countdown buzzer.
Okay.
The kind of when they came in. So I was like, this is kind of the Rumble that like an entire generation. This is what they know. This is the entrance graphics, the buzzer. This was also the last WWE pay-per-view for 3 people. And one of them I'm going to let you rant about here. You ready for him?
Oh.
Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump. This was also Big Papa Pump's final WWE pay-per-view appearance, like, at all. Then we had the A-Train. And then the guy you wanted to rant about, Soapy, Matt Morgan. I believe made his first and his first Royal Rumble and then his last WWE pay-per-view event in the same match, in the same event.
God, I fucking hate Matt Morgan. If we ever at any point review a TNA pay-per-view, I promise you, that man's getting 0 stars. I hate Matt Morgan with a burning passion.
Why?
I don't know what it is. Like, it's the fact that everyone's always been like, oh, he's so good, he's so fucking good. No, all he is, he's tall and he's buff. That's all he is.
And they let you know that in this Royal Rumble, by the way. They like Taz was like, man, how tall is Matt Morgan? He's probably about 7 feet tall, JR.
Yeah, they don't shut up about it. And they don't shut up about it in fucking TNA. Like,
banana juice, Cole, banana juice.
Yeah, banana juice, Cole. He's doing PJs in the back, Cole. Like, obviously, like, I get it. This is the era of when just all the shit hosses came out of nowhere.
Yep.
Like, this is just the generation of shit hoss at this point. We're even a couple years away from the shittiest hoss of all, Greg Khali, showing up. So, mind you, we're on the cusp of a bad moment.
Uh-huh.
But, like, goddamn, dude, I hate Matt Morgan with a burning passion. I always hate it. He was always billed as the next big thing.
Uh-huh.
He sucked at everything.
Yeah. Like,
all he could do was kick good. Congrats! You're fucking, like, I hope to God you can kick good. Your fucking leg gets up to Rey Mysterio's head. I hope to God you could.
Mm-hmm. So you just hate him because of how much everyone thinks he's awesome, and you don't think he's that awesome.
Well, no, and it's not even that everyone else thinks he's awesome. Almost everyone agrees. Matt Morgan just stinks.
Mm-hmm.
Just by this point, this is when, like, companies are starting to do that, like, oh, big guy, muscular, looks good. He's
so
the guy.
The traditional, like, Vince McMahon look of, like, ooh, he's big, he's strong, he's a big, sweaty man. I need him in my company.
Yeah, I love big, sweaty, beefy men.
Beefy boys.
You know, yeah, it's like, you know what? Sure. Go ahead. Go ahead, Vince.
But like I said, so Matt Morgan falls into another category of not only this being his last pay-per-view, it was also his first appearance in the Royal Rumble, along with 9 other wrestlers. I will say this, Soapy. There's about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 of them you know. Do you want to take any guess at who made their first Royal Rumble appearance in 2004?
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna say Rikishi. I know that's wrong though.
It's wrong. He was in the Attitude Era, I believe.
I don't remember.
We just talked about one of them.
Matt Morgan.
Matt Morgan, but we also just talked about another one.
Scott Steiner.
No, before that.
And
Randy Orton. It was Randy Orton's first appearance. Also, Chris Benoit, who won the whole thing. It was his also first appearance.
Was it John Cena's first?
Not John Cena's first.
RVD,
nope, not his first. Another one is he's a big beefy guy. His name has a Y in it, and it's basically a different way of spelling a certain type of animal. This animal has a horn on its head. It starts with an R.
Oh, Rhino.
My
favorite Detroit-based wrestler.
Think about the first match of this pay-per-view. Who was in it?
That was the Dudley Boys.
Which Dudley was not in that match.
Oh, Spike Dudley.
Spike Dudley made his first one. Rene Dupree made his first
the guy
Royal
whose
Rumble.
career gets absolutely fucked because of John Cena, dude. What a time to be alive.
Ernest Miller made his first Royal Rumble. Rico, Nunzio, and then last but not least, Soapy, you said earlier today the Pistons game wanted to make you hit your head on a wall. Who else hit their head on things before they came out? Goldberg. It was also his first Rumble, and he got it. He got it spoiled in a certain way by a certain Brock Lesnar.
God, what a fucking shit-tastic pay-per-view.
Also, the last fun fact: Zach Gowen was supposed to be a participant in the Royal Rumble match, but was pulled at the last minute.
If I remember correctly, Zach Gowen was the guy who had one leg,
yes,
right?
he is the guy who had one leg. He was supposed to be in this Royal Rumble, but got pulled at the last minute.
The only thing I remember from Zach Gowen, and it's a really fucked up meme, it was when you're the Make-A-Wish kid and Brock Lesnar comes to help you, and it's the video of him pushing Zach Gowen down the stairs in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember from Zach Gowen's time in WWE. So I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, but...
I remember I was watching some pay-per-view while we were just chilling in Discord, and I was like, who is it? Like, who is this? And you and Jake were like, oh, that was Zach Gowen, man. He was supposed to get a big push. The one-legged wrestler, man.
Yeah, because they really wanted to get it across that, like, hey, he's really good at wrestling for one leg, which he is.
He was.
Not going to deny that.
He was. But
I'll still never get over when they first debuted him and Roddy Piper ripped his leg off.
Yeah.
No one else in the whole crowd knew who he was.
Yeah.
So they actually thought Roddy Piper ripped his goddamn leg off.
They just thought it's like either Roddy Piper ripped his leg off, or it was like, man, Roddy Piper just abused an amputee. It's a hate crime, is it not?
Beat the shit out of an amputee. Beat the shit out of an amputee and a child.
Oh man, but
shout out to Zach Gowen for that one.
But Soapy, now the main event. This is on this pay-per-view. There were 6 matches? There were 6 matches on this pay-per-view. The thing I want to start off with before we even touch any of the matches is Royal Rumbles are hard to talk about only because they're hard to fucking schedule. Where later on, I feel like by the time, if we ever did like a pay-per-view from like this era, like WWE has such a formula now to where it's like, okay, a 3.5 hour pay-per-view, you can do more serious matches. But the big thing with this pay-per-view was obviously the Rumble was going to be an hour, almost an hour plus. You had a big match in Trips and Shawn Michaels that was needed to have its time. In this pay-per-view, did you have the same feeling that I did of like, maybe some of these matches didn't have to happen, or because obviously the big thing is with this pay-per-view, and we'll get to it in the Brock Lesnar match, because that was the one really hurt by it, was that they needed to give time to Trips and Shawn Michaels, so they took time away from the other matches. Should some of these matches not been on the card and just should have had, hey, if we have 4 matches, we have 4 matches, but we're filling that time with quality wrestling?
I think some of them could have been subbed out. Mm-hmm. The main ones that I think should have were the first 2 matches.
Yep.
Which is the tag match and the cruiserweight match. Mm-hmm. Not because I hate tag wrestling or cruiserweights. I'm already specifying that now. It's just because it was like they were fine matches, but it was just like, okay, like, did that really need to happen here? Mm-hmm. It just kind of felt like by this point they just have Evolution on every pay-per-view and everyone has to be there.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's the only reason why. But like, you could have just put Ric Flair and Batista in the Rumble.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you bring it up, like, we'll get into that. So the first match, Evolution, they were the tag champs, Ric Flair and Batista going up against the Dudley Boys in a tables match, and like, for me, my short thoughts I had on it was a very short match. Was this supposed to show how dominant Evolution is or was at this point? Or is this just a Ric Flair's old, we can't put him in the Rumble, even if it's for a short time, because he can't take a bump over, like going over the top of the rope, and he's old, so we can't have him in a medium to long duration match?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of that while also being mixed with the fact that obviously you need to have a lot of time for the Rumble.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Rumble can always go overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're always in danger of that. Yeah, I think this is just one of those matches of where like 8 minutes long or something like that. And this was like an excruciating 8 minutes. I am on record, the Discord. I have said it to Ricky before this. Every time Evolution is on a pay-per-view, I will shit talk them. I hate Evolution. I stand by it. Evolution is the most overrated stable in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
It's because this is the worst version of all four people involved.
You gave it too much time. It was 5:29 was the official time limit for that match.
It was the most excruciating 5 minutes of my life then.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, because the only thing is, I can mind you, I like the Dudleys. I've always loved the Dudleys. And they're always going to be one of my favorite tag teams. And and I think what they do with tables, obviously, the Dudleys are known for tables. They have Dudley
you mentioned to me before we started recording is this wasn't even the good version of the Dudleys.
Yeah, because by this point, they're getting ready to leave for TNA in a couple of years. Where now it's just okay, by this point we're not having those absolute classic matches either just yet or by this point they've already passed of them versus the Hardys.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the absolute peak of it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of seeing at this point they've ditched the tie-dye, they've ditched the jumpsuits at this point, and they're just kind of wearing regular clothes, and it's just we gotta have the worst version of the Dudleys on here.
Yeah.
One thing that stuck on me from the match though.
Go ahead.
And this is still my favorite part, and this is just because I love the fact that somehow Bully Ray always gets every single fucking thing to work for him when he wrestles. It's that moment when he goes to the other side of the ring when Batista's laying against the apron, recovering.
Yeah.
He slides the table across to hit Batista. Really, the reason I appreciate it is that move could have just fucked up and the table could have just stopped halfway.
Nope.
And then Bubba would have just looked like a clown the whole time.
Nuh-uh. Made it the whole way across. Made it exactly where he wanted it to go.
Yeah. But I think this match mainly suffers from the fact of at one point they just had by this point Batista is still not a good wrestler by this point.
Well, he's still learning, right? Because he's still young and green.
Yeah, because by this point he's been up for I think about a year at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's obviously they called him up way too early from OVW. Everyone who worked with him in OVW even said he wasn't ready to go up yet.
I mean, they called him up because of his stature, not because of what
and they
he
needed
could
a
do
muscular guy.
Yeah.
Which obviously then is weird when you have one of the most muscular people in the company as your champion, or as the head of the stable. And
also, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Evolution, I remember, I don't know where I saw it and what on the network, but there was supposed to be someone else in Evolution, and I can't remember if that someone else was replaced by Randy or Batista.
They were replaced by Batista. It was supposed to be another muscular guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember who it was supposed to be, but basically they were well, no, we want Batista. Or Leviathan is what he was in OVW. We want him instead.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just works a lot better. Which, obviously, don't get me wrong. I love Batista, especially what he grows into.
Yeah.
But it's by this point, I'm just dude, I just don't like any version of anyone in Evolution at this point. Obviously, it helped build careers. It's not fucking deniable, because obviously Randy and Batista are some of the biggest stars WWE's ever produced.
Mark Jindrak, that was his name.
Fucking Mark Jindrak.
Was originally planned to be in the group's, in Batista's role as an Arn Anderson-like enforcer, with Jindrak even shooting vignettes with the rest of the group before it was decided to make Batista a part of the group instead. This was further elaborated in 2020 when it was revealed by Vince McMahon wanted Jindrak in the group to replace Batista due to his tricep injuries in 2003. However, Triple H felt that Jindrak was not mature enough for the group and also felt that he was dragging Randy Orton down. An assessment mutually agreed by Jindrak himself.
Okay, so at least Jindrak, took it took it like a good sport, realizing he wouldn't have really helped the group.
Yeah, but that just feeds your point though, that was Batista called up mainly because of a you're ready or hey, we want him to be a part of this group?
I think it was because they want him to be a part of the group, but it's also the fact of Batista obviously had shown signs of Wall and OVW of being able to become a good wrestler.
Yeah.
So by that point, they're like, "Oh, fuck it, dude. He's a Vince McMahon guy too. He's big, he's beefy, he sweats a lot, and he yells. That's another thing Vince also loves."
Uh-huh.
They're just like, "Fuck it, dude. May as well just put another big, beefy, sweaty guy in the main roster."
Yeah, I'll be honest though, like I didn't care for this match. It was one of those to where it's like I even look at it and it's like the dark match or the Sunday Night Heat match for this pay-per-view was Victoria defeating Molly Holly in a singles match. I was like, this could have been on Sunday Night Heat as well. This did not need to be on this pay-per-view. And also, if you're a wrestling nerd and want to know, way back when this pay-per-view aired, Meltzer gave it a -1 star. Gave it below a 0. Below a 0. A -1 is what he gave it. But the next match is a match that actually, before the match, there was a little backstage interview. I do want to bring these up too, because they're a part of the pay-per-view. There was a little John Cena interview. RVD kind of interrupted it. I don't know about you. This was something to where it's like, it wasn't anything special, but it was like, oh, classic word life. Classic word life by John Cena. Classic RVD being RVD. It was all right. I mean, like, it was cool.
I liked it. And that's mostly just because, obviously, I haven't gone back and watched a lot of Word Life John Cena. So mind you, every time I see Word Life Cena, like, I feel like I'm watching, like, an old movie.
Yep.
Or I'm just, like, I'm experiencing something, from a bygone age.
By God, Soapy.
But, and obviously I like the fact that they had it to where, like, RVD at least interrupted during the rhyme scheme at least.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, like, that was a pleasant thing. Obviously, I also love RVD, so mind you, anytime I get to see RVD on, pay-per-views, I'll love it.
Because he's one of a kind.
Yeah, before he gets that dog shit theme in Impact.
You played that for me, and I was like, why? But, like, I know why they had to do a different theme, because they can't just take the one from WWE. But this played into a match that, Soapy, you also said probably didn't need to be on this pay-per-view. It was a Cruiserweight Championship match. The champion was Rey Mysterio. He went up against Jamie Noble with Nydia out there, blind Nydia, that costed him the match. I just looked at this and I was like, I'm looking at my notes here, Soapy. I'm like, another quick match. Quicker than the tables match. Was I right on that? Yes, it was a 3-minute match. Overall, it was a 3:05 minute match. I mean, technically, you could look at it and say it did its job. Like, Rey Mysterio looked like Rey Mysterio. He did his flippy shit. He looked like the Cruiserweight champion. But, like, there was another part of me that's like, I agree with you. Did this match need to be on this pay-per-view, or was this just a time sucker of, like, we need more than 3 matches on a pay-per-view?
Yeah, I think that's what it really was. Granted, I also do want to talk about, I love this Rey Mysterio theme.
Yeah.
By far. One of my favorites, and that's mostly just because I got so happy when I heard this one.
This is the one that's the, like, who's that flying out the sky? It's all EY, Rey Mysterio. Like, it's that one, right?
This is before he has the Booyaka 619 one. But, and obviously it's just like, I love watching younger Rey. Because obviously, don't remember, Rey is still really impressive with what he's able to do at his age. But, obviously, this is before, like, he has a bunch of surgeries on his knees to where he has to kind of slow it down a little bit.
This was right after, like WCW Rey Mysterio, my favorite Rey.
I don't know why you like unmasked Rey.
No, not unmasked. Like, I just loved it because anytime we played a WCW video game on N64, I always played as Rey Mysterio.
Hey, Rey is one of those people. He's a good time. I just love the fact, though, that this got paired with Taz and Cole on commentary. I will never shut up about it. I love the pairing of Taz and Cole. I don't care if anyone shit talks Taz. You're wrong if you say he's a bad commentator. Taz has some absolute gems in wrestling.
It was also his first Rumble match on commentary.
Yeah. Like, obviously, we already alluded to one to the, he's doing BJ's in the back, Cole.
He's doing BJ's in the back, Cole. Banana juice.
So, obviously, like, by that point, yeah, we're obviously getting this. I still don't like Michael Cole. I don't hate him at this point. He's not heel Michael Cole just yet.
This is before heel Michael Cole, right?
Oh, yeah, way before.
Because heel Michael Cole was when he had that terrible WrestleMania match, right?
Yeah. That was basically once The Miz shows up, that's when heel Michael Cole starts coming around, and I fucking can't stand it.
Is that when he grows like the goatee or the mustache? Doesn't he grow like facial hair?
Shut the fuck up. Yeah. That's when he keeps doing the thing with someone he doesn't like joins. He's like, wow, even nerds can be in here. Like, shut up, Michael Cole, you stink.
You stink. Oh, I thought you had more to say. I thought you had more to say about it.
I had to cough, so... Yeah.
I was like, it stopped, but go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, it's, that's just one of the main things with, like, older Ray is, like, by this point, you can tell they don't have plans for him to be World Heavyweight Champion just yet.
No.
Like, you can tell this isn't even a thought process by this point. Obviously, Ray wins in the end, obviously, because, Nydia trips up Jamie Noble, and they have it that obviously, the thing that's been winning Jamie Noble matches is the thing that cost him in the end. It's like, oh, wow, who could have guessed? Blind one cost the person who brought the blind one.
Oh, let's see. Because, like, that's another thing I put is, like, Jamie Noble is just, like, except for, like, there was, like, one feud, I think it was, like, him and Kidman, I think it was. Or it might have been him and Hurricane. But, like, there was one feud where it's like, okay, he actually won the Cruiserweight title. But, like, other than that, I just remember Jamie Noble being like, oh, he's in this Cruiserweight fight. He's going to lose. And let me see, 2004. Right now I'm looking at Rey Mysterio to see. Man, he had a lot more matches than Randy Orton in 2004. So, after the Rumble, where he beat Jamie Noble, at No Way Out, so really the next pay-per-view after this, Rey Mysterio loses the Cruiserweight title to Chavo Guerrero.
He has that theme by that point.
Does he?
No, whatever dog shit. No, tell me he has that one at least by that point. I have
no idea. That's just the Chavo Guerrero theme I remember. It's Chavo.
So everyone knows. No one likes whatever dog shit theme he had on this one, dude. That fucking theme stinks.
We will get into that. But then at WrestleMania, they have the Cruiserweight Open. And Mysterio beats Kidman, Tajiri, and Akio in Cruiserweight matches. And then loses to Chavo again at WrestleMania in a Cruiserweight match. For, the title.
So it's literally at this point, he's already starting to fight the Guerreros. They just don't want to put him against Eddie just yet.
And then Judgment Day, it's him and RVD versus the Dudleys. Where he does get... So... After this pay-per-view, Royal Rumble 04, he will not get a pay-per-view win unless you want to count the Open as 3 wins, because technically he did win 3 to face Chavo. He would not get a pay-per-view win until May at Judgment Day in a tag match with RVD against the Dudley Boys.
I mean, I guess we got to put the podhead and the little guy next to the big guys, I guess.
And then Great American Bash of 04, June 27th. He beats Chavo and becomes Cruiserweight Champion again. And then let's see. I'm trying to look for the next pay-per-view. Then SummerSlam? Yeah, SummerSlam. Then at SummerSlam, he loses a 6-person tag match because he lost the Cruiserweight Championship to Spike Dudley on a SmackDown on July 27th.
Love Spike. I'm happy Spike got to do something.
But yeah, so Rey Mysterio, that's a little bit of like where he was right now. But like this match yet again, like I said, classic Rey. I love watching Rey. I love watching old Rey Mysterio matches because he's good now, but he was better back then. Just because of youth and what he could do. But yet again, this was one to where I'm like, does this need to be on there? Because Soapy, there's really, to me, every match after this, we start getting into the territory of like, okay, you could fight that these matches should be on this card. Because like the next one, we have the Guerrero feud of Eddie Guerrero versus Chavo Guerrero. You already hit it that, what the hell did Chavo come out to?
I don't like.
Like, they
You can
played that, and I
tell
was
who they
like,
like
what the
more.
hell is this? Are they jobbing them up here?
I mean, that was the thing of like, obviously, whenever you split a tag team, you can always tell who they like more
Yeah.
because they'll give whoever the fuck they like more the better theme.
Yep. Which is
I don't
odd.
know what the fuck Chavo's was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm being serious. I had never heard that theme before. I'd always associate him with that ooh Chavo
Mm-hmm.
or the fucking the Viva La Raza one.
Viva
And then
la
Eddie comes out.
raza.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, cool. He has that. He has the lowrider. Typically,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, also kind of my whole thing was, I'm like, you guys could have taken the sticker off of the front window to show that Eddie doesn't own, or, to show Eddie, or at least act like Eddie owns that car.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can literally see when they stick like the camera in, you can see lowriders.com on the windshield. I'm like, you guys could have at least tried to hide it.
No, man, that's the whole deal. They got to show off where you can buy a lowrider.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't guess lowriders.com is the place to go for a lowrider.
Dude, that was the infancy of the internet, my guy. Like, we were just getting into what, like, that had to be, like, right after the, because the pay-per-views before that, they'd have the vignettes of backstage, like, call up right now or go to WWE.com and come into a chat room where Edge and Lita are going to be sitting here talking about tonight's match.
Yeah, I don't miss those days.
Of course, after the good old days of my childhood of call into the WWE hotline and talk to The Rock after he had this match.
Yeah, and then they'd always throughout the pay-per-view just flash back to them sitting at the table.
Talking on
Just
a
like,
phone.
dude. Yeah, like, and they always have it. They give these motherfuckers the smallest phone they can.
Yep.
Where it's like the phone's like half the size of their hand. It's like okay, we get it. They're fucking big people, but like that'd be like if they were like, all right, yeah, Hornswoggle, you get like those old giant brick telephones.
But yeah.
Like that's your joke, babe. The phone's bigger than you are.
But yeah, like, so with this match, I'm curious to hear what you thought about it overall.
I think it was a good match. I thought it was really weird, and obviously, the ending of the match is Eddie wins, and then he beats down Chavo Senior and Chavo.
Yeah.
I thought it was really weird, and obviously, I get it. Chavo and Chavo Senior had been beating Eddie up to this point. I thought it was really weird. We're supposed to cheer for Eddie after he just mercilessly beats the shit out of his brother and his nephew.
Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be the baby face
thing
of this, right? Or like,
yeah, and like he bloodies Chavo, chokes his brother out with his tie, and I'm like, how am I supposed to feel good for him?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I get it. He's been put through hell because obviously, Chavo's treated him like shit since they lost.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, then his brothers turned on him. But it's just like, I don't know. It confused me because I'm just like, why are we? Like, I get it. Obviously, Eddie, it's like the redemption, but like, Eddie's just beating the shit out of him afterwards. Like, the whole point of the match is Eddie doesn't want to throw a punch because he wants to show he can out wrestle Chavo.
Yeah.
Obviously, he beats Chavo without throwing a single punch the whole match.
And then afterwards, like, oh, I beat you. Now I can beat the shit out of you.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. And it's like, okay, you already kind of proved your point. You don't have to go back for it. Like, obviously, I get it. Once again, Eddie still is gonna look like the good guy because obviously, Chavo and Chavo Senior were being shitheads to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I also thought it was really weird. They kept trying to say like random things that were like, I know it was Chavo Senior says to Eddie because he gets picked up of like obviously Chavo's like he's like drags Chavo over to him and starts beating him up. Like, how could you do that to your own son? I'm sitting here, he's not the son.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's your kid.
Yeah.
Don't say your son, and when your son is looking there in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be really weird if Chavo, Eddie was young enough to have Chavo that they're like the same age when they're wrestling. That would be some very messed up thing.
Yeah, because like now I'm even like, because obviously like my only thought of this was, because the matches before this we talked about shouldn't have been on the pay-per-view. This one, even being 8 minutes with entrances, didn't feel like, it didn't feel rushed, and I don't know if it's because there was actually story to this match. Like, you were actually invested because of everything that was going on between Eddie and Chavo. But there's a part of me that's like, should they have opened up the pay-per-view with this match? Should this have been the first like, this should have been the first match. And just from here until the end, the 3 matches, this one and the 2 others, and the Rumble should have been the only matches of the night.
Yeah, I think they should have done that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because obviously you can give this match more time. You can also then even have it Chavo doesn't just look like a complete shithead.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you can probably tell where they have Chavo's, priority at this point.
Yeah.
That Chavo's not an important figure in this whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. Obviously, they have it that Eddie is going to be the big guy from
Well,
this.
I mean, from this, I was just gonna say, the next pay-per-view, No Way Out, he beats Brock Lesnar for the championship. Eddie Guerrero, champion.
Yeah, so you can kind of tell a little bit of more important here.
And then he loses it. He loses it in May at Judgment Day to JBL, baby. The birth of JBL.
Yep, the birth of JBL and the fucking Texas Bull Rope match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What a shit match, dude. That match is good, but that match type is dog shit. I hate matches like that.
Wait, how did Eddie get it? So, Eddie got the championship back then? Oh, that's why. So, Eddie retains it at Judgment Day because Bradshaw wins by DQ. Then you have at the Great American Bash in June, JBL beats Guerrero in a Texas Bull Rope match. And that's where JBL wins it, is at the Great American Bash.
And then we get the greatest heel of the mid 2000s, JBL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, John Bradshaw Layfield.
John Bradshaw Layfield. And then that, Eddie Guerrero, though, after this, becomes champion. Yeah, he loses it shortly, but, then his other, pay-per-view matches, he's got a pay-per-view matchup, yes, he loses, but SummerSlam goes up against Kurt Angle. Then No Mercy, he went up, Luther Reigns, that's probably not as big as the other ones.
Fuck Luther Reigns.
And then Survivor Series, he's on the Survivor Series team. Armageddon, he is in a fatal four-way match for the WWE Championship. And then that's all his pay-per-views in 2004. So, he didn't get shot to the moon, but, we all know.
Definitely tell he was much more important than Chavo was.
Yeah, exactly. Chavo, we went over that. He goes straight to the Cruiserweight division.
He goes from, up here, kind of okay. And
he's a Cruiserweight champion, so you could say, they didn't at least, bury him, but,
I mean, you gotta remember, though, this is the time they don't like Cruiserweights by this point.
Exactly. This wasn't when they had
Cruiserweight division
live.
is hey, we don't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
You're the pre-show.
Yeah, you're the pre-show, or, you're the bathroom match.
Yeah. Then, lo and behold,
quick question
turned into, the first match at the fucking pay-per-view every time now.
Quick question that popped into my mind. Cruiserweight, though, in WWE's mind, Cruiserweight was still more important than women's wrestling, right? Because the only women's match was on Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah, by this point, the women's matches were very low on the card, because obviously by this point, they're divas.
Yeah, it was...
And they're there for appeal, they're not there for wrestling ability.
So was
the only ones that are there for, ability are, Molly Holly.
Was this around the time, and yet again, I'm trying to think, because, I watched I can't remember if it was on the network or, on YouTube. I think it was on the network after the last pay-per-view, of where it's basically Finlay was put in charge of the women's division. And it was, I think, Victoria, Trish Stratus, Molly Holly, where it was all his MO was, you can do exactly what the men are doing. And that's what we're going to do. And then, Vince and stuff would be hey, can't do that. The women can't do what the men are doing. And he's I'd back off for about a show. And then go right back to, okay, we're going to go back to actual wrestling and not just hair pulling. Are we at that time, or was that a little bit after this?
Oh, it's after. Okay. Finlay, by this point, is still a wrestler.
Okay.
So,
because this
not put in charge of the women's division just yet.
Because this is about the time with my wrestling where I was in high school. I was just starting high school in my first year. I was on the way out of wrestling because, 7 years old, I love Stone Cold, and Stone Cold's not wrestling anymore. So, I'm watching because he's still on TV, but I'm not like as invested as I was obviously when I was 7, 8 years old at the height of like Stone Cold and The Rock.
Yeah. And like by this point, this is where I think a lot of that fan base does start to go away because obviously the viewership starts to drop and everything. And we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, like women's wrestling by this point is just a non-factor. They're literally there for sex appeal. That's the only thing most of the divas, or sorry, women at this point, referred to them as divas because that's what they were called on TV.
Yeah. This is
basically what the women are.
They
here
don't have
for.
the divas belt at this point, right? Okay.
Maybe they've just brought it back or something. It's around this time I think that they bring it back. But like by this point, it's like you have women who can work at this point. Sorry, I had the deafen so I could cough.
You're good.
But like by this point, you know, because you have Lita, Molly Holly. I think around this time, Mickie James comes into the company.
Yeah.
Where like obviously you kind of start building a women's division that can wrestle, but once again, they're still mostly using all of these people for sexual appeal. Besides Molly Holly, because she becomes a superhero.
You're right. So this is about like the actual Divas belt wasn't until like 6 years after this. So they still have like a women's championship, but it's kind of like the Attitude Era, where it's like sex appeal, like you're only here for show, you're not here for actual wrestling like the guys.
Yeah, it's like by this point, it's basically you go out there, show your titties, and come back.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically what the whole purpose of it is.
And like that's the thing that they were talking about in that vignette that I saw, where it was basically, who were the two that they mentioned? Tori Wilson was one of them, but it was like Tori Wilson and someone else, to where it's like they were actually like, even though they weren't wrestlers, they were brought in as like non-wrestlers that were there for the whole sex appeal thing. Even they wanted to show that they could actually wrestle and put on a good match. So like it blows my mind. It's like, hey, you had people there that wanted to do actual wrestling, but hey, product of the time, you just sit there, you look sexy, and us men at the time just tongues out, kind of, that's what it was, good or bad. Not happy with how the past is. You got to learn from it and move on. But Soapy, interesting thing about this, besides the Triple H Shawn Michaels match and the Rumble, this Eddie Guerrero Chavo match, highest rating from Dave Meltzer. Got a 2.5 stars.
Okay.
So like that got a 2.5. The Rey Mysterio Jamie Noble match got 1 star.
Hey, that's more than -1.
So it's like it's a positive. At least we're not the worst match on the show. Let's see. Did I have any fun facts about any of these matches? No, I did. Well, no, I did not. Then we had a Chris Benoit backstage promo, Soapy. And for me, I don't know how many people caught this like live, but for me, watching it in 2020 hindsight, this was classic foreshadowing of like, oh, they're basically telling us Benoit's going to win the Rumble, because Benoit's doing an interview, Flair and Batista come out. They, like I said, let Flair do what Flair does and just fucking talk. Like talk the talk, walk the walk, jet flying, limousine riding. It's just what Ric Flair does best, is talk. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, they're really setting Benoit up as this underdog. And I wonder how many people watching it live in 2004 were in their living rooms going, like looking at each other going, yeah, Benoit's going to win this fucking thing.
Yeah, obviously, you know, back then, obviously nowadays we can kind of always predict who's going to win. Mm-hmm. Because like, for instance, when Drew McIntyre won, I called that shit.
Yep, you did.
But, you know, it's like you have it to where, like, they've always kind of given hints like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, and also this is just kind of one of those promos of where, like, if someone gets interrupted at a Royal Rumble, you know that person's going to be a big deal in the match.
Yeah.
It happens every time. If someone interrupts someone in a Rumble, bet your ass those two people are probably going to see each other in the Rumble and fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
Makes them, like, indirectly makes them, like, a pretty big deal within the match.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think going into it, we knew Benoit had the number one.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, then at that point, Ric Flair's telling him, like, you're not going to do anything. And it's just like, okay, cool. obviously hindsight's 2020. We already knew
Yeah.
going into this pay-per-view that he was going to win.
Mm-hmm. And really, this
But-
backstage promo was to set up Benoit's number 1, Randy Orton's number 2.
Yeah. That it was Randy was going to win because
Mm-hmm.
Randy's the next one up, and it's like, okay.
So he's like, okay.
I don't know. I just don't have much to say about it. It's
Yeah.
still, to this day, I don't like Benoit as a talker.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. Like, he's not the worst.
But he's known more for his wrestling. Like
yeah. Always been more of the technical wrestler. Like, he's never been the guy that, like, he's like a commanding presence on the microphone. He's always been that, like, okay, like, I'll just outwork you, but like that's just the thing with Benoit that has just always bothered me, obviously, besides the really big thing that bothers me.
you know, like killing people and stuff. His family.
Killing his family.
Yeah.
You know, besides the killing his family thing, the thing that's always bothered me about him was, like, just the fact of, like, just whenever he talks, it's so robotic.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell he's just reciting what someone told him before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I could see that. So the next match, though, this is where the next 2 matches are kind of intertwined in a sense. And this is where we really get what I mentioned earlier about how to plan a pay-per-view, because the next match was Brock Lesnar defeating Hardcore Holly in a match for was this the WWE Championship? Yeah, WWE Championship. And the little snippets that I had, fun facts, interesting facts about this match. Number 1, the whole storyline heading into this was back, like, I think 2 years ago. I think it was in 2002 it happened. Was Brock Lesnar injured Hardcore Holly's neck, took him out of time. This is where Hardcore Holly was coming back, wanted to get the title, going against Brock Lesnar because of, hey, what you did to me, how you almost ended my career. Fun fact was, while Brock Lesnar did indeed break Hardcore Holly's neck in an in-ring accident, as mentioned during the show, the storyline of Lesnar ignoring him and being remorseless was fictitious. Lesnar, in fact, visited Howard in the hospital on many occasions and expressed his regret for the accident. Hardcore Holly, for this part, recognized and appreciated that, and the two were in fact friends. That also goes along with the other fact of Holly admitted that, so Brock didn't want to work with Holly. Holly even admitted as much, noting that even though he and Lesnar got along, Lesnar didn't find the match to be worth his time. Holly adds that WWE did little to build up the return from injury and didn't do enough to position him as a threat to Lesnar's championship. Thus, nobody involved was satisfied with the situation. And that was coming, that last part I got from a What Culture wrestling article, because Soapy, the big thing about this match is the duration of it. Let's see, it went for 6 minutes and 22 seconds. It was supposed to be a 15-minute match. It was supposed to have gotten double the length that it did, but the reason it didn't get that time was because Vince and Gorilla was like, oh, we got to give more time to the next match. We got to give more time to Triple H and Shawn Michaels. And Brock and Holly didn't even know of the cut until they got in Gorilla to come out for this match.
That doesn't surprise me. That happens a lot.
It doesn't surprise me, but it's like, really? Like, why not? Like, and this is why we go back to cut the tag team match, cut the cruiserweight match. Just give that time to this match. Boom, problem solved.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, once again, they probably at first were like, okay, they got ample time, and then they're like, well, fuck, these guys work really slow at times.
Yeah,
we got to give them some things. And obviously, once again, they knew no one interested was really involved, or no one involved in this match was really interested.
You're talking about Brock and Holly?
Yeah, so probably at this point, they were just like, dude, fuck it, just cut their minutes. Like, no one wants to watch a match to where, like, no one cares about what's happening in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, and obviously, Brock's always had that throughout his career. That's always
Oh.
been a thing that's been known, is that Brock does not like working with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And Brock most of the time will half-ass if he doesn't want to work with someone. It's been very obvious in the past.
Yeah.
It's like, for instance, the first couple times he faced Roman when he came back,
Mm-hmm.
literally you could tell he could give a rat's ass about going against Roman because
Yeah.
he's just, all he's doing is suplexing and like, fuck it, whatever, do what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and obviously, you know, around this time, Brock's not half-assing it just yet.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, we're slowly starting to build towards that, like, hey, Brock's going to half-ass his way through his career now. If only he actually fucking tried most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts were typical Brock Lesnar match, question mark? Like, it was did I enjoy myself? Like, yeah, it seemed like a good match, but, like, it just didn't seem like anything special. And maybe that's why they cut time. Maybe you're sitting there going, well, Ricky, Soapy's right. Nobody wanted to watch it. Brock didn't even want to do it. So why make something longer and make it be more excruciating? But like, there's just like, this is something of like, was this a whole situational thing of like them cutting time was maybe like the last straw of like, well, fuck it. Like, whatever. Let's just get through this. Or was it like what I had read where it's like Holly even said, they didn't give any push for the return. They didn't put any like pre-work into this. So like, how are you going to get someone to care about something when you're not like setting the story up right?
Yeah, and I mean, and obviously, once again, a lot of the times with pay-per-view matches, you have to gauge the crowd itself.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Where it's like, was the crowd super invested in this before?
Mm-hmm.
If they're hearing like the crowd's dead silent or they're barely reacting to like watching Hardcore Holly beat up Lesnar, like,
Good point.
why give that 15 minutes? Like, I know obviously it sucks. You hate seeing people have their minutes taken away in a match.
Mm-hmm.
But it's at the same time, it's like, I mean, like, dude, hell, like, there's at times that, like, you gotta sacrifice something for, like, the better of the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Just for instance, their minutes went to the best match of the pay-per-view.
And we'll get into that. So it was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, last man standing match. The part that kind of coincides
Probably
with
just skip right past the Lesnar match, by the way. Didn't even talk about it.
These kind of go hand in hand, where I don't want to like fully go Triple H and Shawn Michaels, but I do have a quote from Bob Holly about like how that, like, according, like the show was reconfigured to give Triple H and Michaels more time, where according to Bob Holly, whose championship bout with Brock Lesnar went from 8 minutes with entrances, their match was supposed to be double that, 15, with entrances factored in. It wasn't until both men met in Gorilla, they had learned that the drastic time cut was going to happen. Holly notes that those 7 exercise minutes were specifically given to Michaels and Helmsley, all for a double count out finish. So like, I mean, with Brock and Holly, because it wasn't a bad match, did WWE make the right call knowing that the next match is just going to end in a double count out to keep the storyline going so that they can meet in Hell in a Cell later?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what. Like, all right, we're gonna make this longer because obviously, then if it's a shorter match and it comes out to like a double knockout, Tackling kind of gets to the point of where it's like, okay, like this match was what, only 20 or so minutes, like,
Yeah.
and these guys got that tired. Then if you have a match later down the line, obviously they could probably do like their conditioning was better, but like, you guys have been in the same shape since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your conditioning doesn't just mystically turn on, or like either turn on or turn off.
Especially when you're pumping that many steroids.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, Trips was a steroids guy, right?
Yeah, I bet he was.
So he's like, have you seen him?
I was gonna say, I mean, shit, Scott Steiner was a fucking steroids guy, and they had a flex off, and Triple H was bigger than Scott.
Big Papa Pump.
Yeah, like if you watch that flex off, like, Triple H is as big. Like, you can't tell me that's not steroids.
Yeah.
Like, Shawn, it's like, okay, whatever. Shawn, like, he's muscular and you can tell he has muscle, but, like, that's not steroid muscle. That's, like, natural, like, okay, I work out in the gym muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Triple H is like, I do steroids, I pick up cars and just roid rage. Like, it's like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can tell, like, his is fucking steroids.
Yeah. But I mean, like, the Triple H Shawn Michaels match was good. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing that sucks about, like, oh, well, they took time to put it into the Triple H Shawn Michaels match. This match was good. I knew it was going to be good heading in because it's two legends of wrestling. Two legends of wrestling. A storyline that everyone would, like, yeah, you can say that you hated the Reign of Terror and you'd be justified. But, like, you can't tell me that the storylines that were put into these matches were not good ones. Like, they had some substance. Like, at least it was a story, unlike the, like, tag match that was just, like, thrown together. Give them 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever it was. Like, this was classic Triple H, Shawn Michaels, let him go. Crimson masks the entire way before WWE was getting away from the whole, like, blood and having a crimson mask. And, like, the thing I loved most about it was how it ended in a double DQ. What?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And with random shit, I picked my hand up and my fucking hand hit my desk.
I saw your mouth move, but nothing came out, and I was like, wait, what did he say? But, like, I don't know about you. I loved how this match ended. It looked like Trips was going to have it. Boom, super kick. And then, boom, they're both down. Like, sweet chin music. Bam, they're both down. Shawn tries to get up. It's like, oh, is he going to get up? Oh, no, he fell. Oh, Trips retains. Like, and the crowd looked, like, at the end of the match, when you get that reaction from the crowd, like, even though they were booing and might not have liked the result, you got a result from the crowd. This was the only match on the card that I feel like got anything close to the result that this one got at the end.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just one of those ones of where it's like, you know, you have people that have always put on good matches.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I don't like Triple H has always put on good matches.
He's a worker.
Like, obviously, there's bad ones, aka the Scott Steiner match.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, it's throughout most of his career, he's always had good matches. We've always been able to trust him to put on something that the crowd will enjoy. Obviously, Shawn Michaels, his whole thing is, I want to steal the show every night.
Yep.
I mean, and it's just like, you know, obviously, this is just a typical match between these two. Like, followed the same formula they always do, and I'm not saying that in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
They follow the formula, and it just works every time.
Yeah.
Like, even when you know the formula for both of these guys, that Shawn Michaels is going to bleed halfway into it. Triple H is going to grab the sledgehammer. Like, it's, once you know the formula, like, obviously, you know, if you know the formula, you kind of start looking at it in, like, not a cynical way, but you're just like, alright, here comes the first super kick.
Yeah.
And Shawn Michaels is going to go to him, he kicks out of two, Shawn's going to look surprised.
But you can also suspend that, like, suspend your notion of disbelief. And, like, just be like, you know what? I know it's going to come. I'm just not going to care. I'm just going to enjoy the ride and see where this match takes me.
And I mean, and this is one of those matches that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally, these two have always been able to put on matches that even when you know what's coming, it still is really impressive.
Yeah.
And the fact of, like, it's these two always somehow have the eating out of the palm of their hands.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what happens.
Well, they just,
like,
they know how to work with the crowd and, like, feed off of what the crowd is giving them.
And then it's always like, oh, you know, like, because for instance, they had the spot where they were standing on the tables, and like, he kept hitting, Shawn Michaels kept hitting Triple H, and Triple H looked like he was going to fall back through the table.
Yeah.
And the whole crowd cheering, they're like, fuck yeah, tables! We love tables! And then the fucking, you know, and then he doesn't, and it's like the whole crowd hates him. It's like Triple H is doing what he's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to get the crowd to hate him. You know, Shawn's having the crowd view him as a valiant babyface that just wasn't able to come up in the end.
Yeah. Because, like, yet again, I've done it three or four other times on this podcast. Let me do it again. I'll look at Triple H. Let's see, 2004. He's probably going to have... Oh, he only had 38 matches in 2004? Randy Orton had more matches than Triple H in 2004?
Man, doesn't surprise you. Randy Orton holds the fucking record, my guy.
Good point. So let's see. Why do I not see the Rumble here? There it is. So this was Trips' first match of the year. Then obviously him and Shawn Michaels are going to be in a 3-way at WrestleMania, triple threat. Benoit wins the title at WrestleMania. Then his next pay-per-view at Backlash, same match, Benoit wins. Bad Blood, Shawn Michaels, that's the Hell in a Cell match with the sledgehammer. So they continue that feud. Then, let's see, Vengeance, Triple H, Benoit. Benoit defeats him again. SummerSlam, he defeats Eugene in a match. Unforgiven, he defeats Randy Orton for the title. So basically, this is continuing like, okay, the next two big matches he'll have will be the triple threat Benoit and Michaels, where Benoit will win. Then we'll see the Hell in a Cell match, the big notable one in the feud between Trips and Shawn. And then it's, okay, Benoit beats him again before what I mentioned earlier, where Triple H then beats Randy Orton for the title at Unforgiven in September. And then after that, he's on the Survivor Series team, and then that's the end of his year. Is after that, he doesn't have a pay-per-view until 2005.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that doesn't really surprise me that these two got the crowd to eat out of their head.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, and then the first pay-per-view match of 2005, New Year's Revolution, if I could read. It was an Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship with Shawn Michaels as the referee. That was the one that had Trips, Batista, Benoit, Jericho, Edge, and Randy Orton in the Elimination Chamber.
Man, what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. But this was easy. Like, part of me hates to say it. This was the best match of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, by far.
This was like, and the thing is, like, I mean, my thoughts, like, yet again, wrote it down. Good match, classic, Trips and Shawn Michaels. Obviously, the result was to keep the feud going. My only question, we kind of answered this throughout, was, did other matches need to suffer for this match?
Absolutely.
Did it need, like, did the other matches, did the Brock Holly match need to suffer to make this one longer? And it's like, this one felt good. Like, even though it was long as shit, like, I think it was just as long as 23 minutes was how long this match was, Soapy. So, like,
that doesn't surprise me.
23 minutes, but it didn't seem long. I don't know if you thought it felt long.
Oh, no, dude. Every Triple H match feels like it goes on for fucking eternity, so.
But, like, the Rumble was obviously going to be longer, where, that's the other reason why I think this match was the best, is, like, this Rumble, there are some Rumbles where it's like, wow, that had a lot of good spots. And then there's some Rumbles to where it's like, I can't remember a goddamn thing that happened, but god damn it, do I remember who won, or how it ended, or the oh my god moment at the end of this Rumble. Before I ask you about what you thought about the Rumble, would you like to hear some interesting facts about this, just the Rumble match alone?
Sure.
Number 1, Chris Benoit's first Rumble match. I said at the beginning of the show, but Benoit was the third Radical to participate in a Rumble match. Perry Saturn wrestled in the 2001-2002 editions, while Eddie Guerrero wouldn't make it into one until 2003. Dean Malenko would never take part in a Royal Rumble. So the Radicals, that's what they were known in WCW. Benoit was the third Radical to make an appearance in the Royal Rumble. Also, a little JBL history for you. Bradshaw is the only man in WWE history to be the first one eliminated from a Royal Rumble and then become the WWE champion later on in the same calendar year.
I mean, hey, dude, JBL is just cut from a different cloth.
Oh, man, because, yet again, eliminated first this one, then he becomes the champion. He beats Eddie Guerrero, like we mentioned. Spike Dudley was the only Dudley in the Rumble until 2015. I thought that was kind of interesting that a Dudley hadn't been in the Rumble except for Spike since 2015. But I guess it makes sense if they left the company.
They never. WWE, and they never wanted to split Bubba and Devon.
Yeah, but how
So,
many times have we seen two people from a tag team into a Rumble?
yeah, the only thing is, though, a lot of people don't like it when they wrestle on their own. And it's one of those things of where, like, WWE just never viewed the Dudleys as anything important apart from each other. Besides that one time they had Devon turn into Pastor Devon. Or, sorry, Brother Devon.
Good point.
Talk about masturbation with the crowd.
John Cena, by the way, tore his MCL in his elimination. It was mentioned on commentary that something happened to John Cena's knee. That was not like kayfabe. That was not JR and Taz being fictitious. That really did happen. John Cena tore his MCL on his elimination. Did you know that Mick Foley's Rumble appearance didn't go the way he had hoped it went?
Well, I mean, I'd hope to God he probably didn't think about eliminating himself.
So this is a long one. One of the most dramatic Royal Rumble moments occurred when Mick Foley made his in-ring return after 4 years. After beating up Test backstage and usurping his number 21 draw, Foley stormed to the ring in order to enact revenge on Randy Orton, who had disgraced him 6 weeks earlier. While the moment drew an ungodly reaction, Philly loves their Cactus Jack, Foley was less enthused about how it turned out. For one thing, Foley would later admit that he blew up cardiovascularly in the midst of a brief skirmish, despite his best efforts at training and dieting 4 months prior to the run-in. Foley also added that he and Orton threw legit punches at each other in order to try to enrich the realism of their angle. Foley says that nobody seemed to notice their unpulled potency, concluding that the strikes were a waste of time, patience, and swelling.
Yeah, I mean, once again, that's the thing. Like, when you put like realism behind like a Rumble match, it's like, dude, you're not the only people in the ring. Like I get it. I understand why Mick Foley's upset, but it's at the same time, it's like you can't be surprised the crowd's not gonna notice you when there's 5 other people in the ring at that point.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Rumble matches.
Yeah, like that's why it's basically you just. I don't want to say you never go all out for a Rumble, but like you never like pull like the real punches out. You never do stuff like that. You always have it to where it's just like, okay, like we're gonna have
unless you're like the only two in the ring.
Oh yeah. They weren't that.
Yeah.
Because obviously Benoit was already in the ring already, like dead in the corner.
Yeah.
For like half the match. Which, I mean, I'm not going to
like
shit
a typical
talk.
Rumble.
Over an hour.
Typical Rumble. The guy that's in there forever takes a little bit of break in the corner.
Yeah, they just kind of sit there and they just stare at everyone. They're just like, I just want to die.
And then the last one is Chris Benoit set a new longevity mark. Benoit's 1 hour, 1 minute, and 31 second performance was the first time anyone had surpassed 60 minutes in 11 years. It also bested the previous record set that year by Bob Buckland, whose 1 hour, 1 minute, and 10 seconds spent in the 93 Royal Rumble match stood unmatched for a decade plus.
I mean, he's the Wolverine. What do you want him to do, baby?
Now that's the thing though, and maybe that's where we'll start with this, is I feel like now we always get this to where it's like people lasting in a Rumble really long isn't like that shocker because everyone expects, oh, who's going to be the Iron Woman? Who's going to be the Iron Man of the Rumble? Who's going to be the one to stay in there the longest? To where it's like there's usually somebody that stays in there about 80% of the Rumble match.
Yeah, I'm going to say always. There are amount of times that
and usually it's Natalya.
Out. Oh, yeah, it's always Natalya because they have nothing else for her to do all day. Yeah. But, I mean, like, there's ones that, like, there's Rumbles that people only last about 30 minutes or so, and that's, like, the longest time.
Okay.
I don't mind with having people last a long time. The only thing I don't like is when it's someone that it's just like, did this person really need that kind of, like, rub of being the Iron Man / woman?
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time it kind of bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, outside of that, like, we've had people break their records since, because obviously you'll always break records in wrestling.
Yep.
The only record that's not ever going to get fucking broken is, like, Oh, what's his fucking name? The guy who held the fucking title in WWE for like 7 years straight.
What year?
Having his fucking record broke. It was like a really old
Oh,
wrestler.
you're talking about like, was that Buckland?
Oh.
Dean Malenko? Not Dean Malenko.
I was gonna say it's definitely not fucking Dean Malenko.
Longest WWE. Somebody in the comment sections already has been like, "This is who it is." No, Buddy Rogers.
I don't think so. I don't remember what his name is.
Oh, Bruno Sammartino. Is that the one?
No one's ever breaking Bruno Sammartino's record.
The days recognized 2,803.
People would burn a company down before they even fucking think about that.
Yeah, the longest days with a reign are Bruno Sammartino, Bob Buckland, Hulk Hogan, Bruno again, Pedro Morales, and then CM Punk with 434.
Yeah. No one's getting close to fucking Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah. But Randy Orton might get close to John Cena. He's at 10 now. 10 championships.
I'm talking about just time held. I'm not talking about total times, because no one's holding that fucking belt for 7 years ago.
Yeah, no, nobody's going to. But what did you think of the Rumble match overall? Because Meltzer, yet again, with me, I didn't think it was the worst match, but he gave it a, let's see. So he gave the Shawn Michaels Triple H a 3 stars. He gave the Rumble 3 3/4 of a star.
Sorry, can you say that again? I zoned out for a second.
He gave Trips and Shawn Michaels 3 stars. He gave the Royal Rumble 3 and then 3/4 of a star. So almost a 4-star match. I don't agree with that. I think the Trips and Shawn Michaels was better than the Rumble because, to me, like I said, this Rumble, when you look back at it, this is a Rumble where it's like you only remember it because Chris Benoit won the Rumble.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I'm like half oxygen. I gotta sneeze.
So he's like, I gotta sneeze. I've been coughing. I've been sneezing.
Dude, I'm just all sorts of fucked up right now.
Oh man, but like, that's the thing where it's like, probably to me, the only bit, because in a Rumble, there's obviously moments that happen. Like, to me, the big moments of this one was, obviously, if you paid attention to Benoit, he only eliminated big guys. Like, the 4 people he eliminated were Mark Henry, Rhino, your favorite guy, Matt Morgan, A-Train, and then, obviously, the Big Show to win it. All big guys to kind of put over, like, the little guy pushing over those big guys. But, like, other than that, Kane getting eliminated by hearing the Undertaker's gong, then getting eliminated, and then basically kicking the shit out of Spike Dudley before he even got into the ring itself. You had mentioned Mick Foley basically eliminating himself in the match. Like, this Rumble to me was more about the ending than it was the Rumble throughout.
And obviously, you know, you have to judge Rumbles differently, like we had mentioned earlier.
Because they're a different kind of match.
Also because, like, and it's also we had to look at this one differently because the fact that we already knew who won.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into a Rumble and have no idea who the fuck wins it, that makes the Rumble better because then you are just as, you know, I mean, unless you know like every single thing in history like Meltzer, you know, like then don't know, like, okay, like let's say like at WrestleMania that year, I'd already known who was there. Like, okay, I could guess who wins. Yeah. Obviously, because I would fucking know who wins.
Now, I'm going to ask you, when you watch this pay-per-view, did you look up who won before, or did you just watch it?
I already knew who won it beforehand.
Okay. Well, I mean, no.
I didn't look it up, I just knew he won.
The Rumble you knew, but like, for example, like the tables match. Did you know who was going to win that, or did you, like, look it up beforehand?
I went into it blank. I didn't look up anything about it.
So that's the way I like to, like, I like to go into these blind, and try to, like, there's times though where it's like, you're going to remember, this is the year that Chris Benoit wins the Rumble, and you're going to have that, spoiled for you. But like, I feel like going into these, you have to go into them blind. You can't know who won.
And it's mostly because then he'll just zone out and not pay attention to anything that happens in the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are times you can't help if you already know what happens in a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I found
you've
myself
probably watched
zoning
it before, and you're like, "Oh, I remember watching this."
Yeah, but like, for instance, during the Rumble, I found myself zoning out because I'm like, I don't care what happens, like, Benoit's winning.
Yeah.
But it's also like when it got down to the final two, when it's him and Big Show, and I'm like, oh wow, I wonder how many times they're gonna do this with fucking Big Show already.
Well,
it's a Big Show. Like, they always have it that if Big Show's the second to last guy, he's eliminating himself. It happens every time.
Yeah. But
just
like
the whole thing that whenever it happened was I was just like, okay, cool. Like, we're just gonna have it that fucking Big Show tips himself over the rope. That he's gonna fall out onto the floor and they're gonna be like, my God, the little guy won. And it's like, wow, and people have done this already.
Yeah. Anything that you think needs to be added about this Rumble match? Because like I said, like this is the thing where I don't know if a lot needs to be said about it because you know who wins. Like, I guess the only question I should ask is, looking back on it, is this pay-per-view kind of tainted for you knowing what happens with Chris Benoit? Like, is this like watching it going like, oh, yay, Benoit won, yay, murderer.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, covering Benoit is always a really touchy subject, especially in wrestling, because obviously everyone has different opinions on, what happened with Benoit. Obviously, I have the opinion he fucking murdered his family. Don't be those weirdos who are going against that grain.
Oh, he murdered his family. Could he have gotten help ahead of time? Maybe, but like, yeah, he murdered his family. Like,
I mean, like, the people who try to, like, write it off and be like, well, it wasn't his fault, and, like, the Canadian Mafia and all that stuff. Like, no. Just accept it happened. It's shitty. This is the thing, and obviously, it'll be a different conversation for a different day about Benoit. But, like, it's always tough to go back and watch it just because the fact of it's like, every time you watch him do diving headbutts or you see him take a chair shot, you're just like, that's getting him one step closer every time.
Yep.
Like, and it's just painful to watch. Like, that's one of the things where, like, that's the main thing that taints the Ruthless Aggression era. And that's something that'll always linger over its head.
Yeah.
Is the fact that Benoit kills somebody. And that kind of stops. I mean, obviously, there's still brutality in wrestling. CZW still exists, and they fucking go through, like, light tubes and tables like it's a fucking Staples Center.
Yeah.
But, you have it to where it's, like, now, looking back at it, like, I still like Benoit matches. I know there's people who have it where it's like you're not supposed to like anything with Benoit anymore, but like I still like his matches. I still think they're enjoyable.
You can appreciate his work while knowing what he did and how his life ended was tragic, and he's a bad person for it because he's a murderer. Like, but you can still like the wrestling that he did in the ring and kind of separate the two.
I mean, it's the same thing with music. You can like someone's music, well, they're a garbage human being.
Yeah.
Or a fucking batshit insane person like Kanye.
Yeah, or a comedian. You can like their on-stage work, oh, they make me laugh, but I don't like the actual person.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the thing, and obviously that's kind of the one thing that lingers over every pay-per-view that has Benoit. It's just that, like, thought process. I mean, fuck, I'm even like it with Eddie, too. If every time when I see Eddie, I start thinking, I'm like, how far away am I until Eddie's dead?
Not long. 2005 was the last matches that he... So, let me go back to where... Because I did look at Eddie's matches. So, like, what? We're sitting here, I said January, like, 24th or 25th. His last match with the company or ever is November 8th of 2005 on a SmackDown where he defeats via DQ Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't... that's just... It's shitty to think about. I don't know what the fuck just fell off my desk or something. Dude.
Yeah, Wow, think about this. So, SmackDown taping on November 8th, 2015. And then literally, like... 5 days later, on the 13th, Eddie's dead.
I mean, that shit's crazy. But, like, that's just what I think of. Every time I see a dead wrestler on my screen, I'm like, you just think of, like, okay, how long until this person's dead from this point? But that's why, like, I find it really uncomfortable to go back and watch Owen Hart matches. Because then it's just like, there's at some point that like I'm gonna see Owen and be like, oh, he's dead in like a month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like it is what it is. Like there's only so much you can do about it, though.
I mean, if we ever did No Mercy 06, no 05, No Mercy 05 is Eddie's last pay-per-view.
Yeah. So like that'll literally be all I'm thinking of the whole time I see Eddie. It's just like, man, this is the last time we see Eddie alive.
I mean, hell,
or at least Eddie's last pay-per-view match.
Even when we watched this match, I was like, damn, like I miss Eddie. Like I miss Eddie Guerrero. I like his matches brought me joy. Benoit was a little bit different. Was like I didn't have that same like sentimental because of how he died very differently than Eddie Guerrero, and it's I shouldn't say humorous. Humorous is the wrong word. That both of their deaths are kind of intertwined because without one, maybe the other doesn't happen in some alternate universe. Because one of them dying triggered the other one from murdering his entire family because of the grief that was going over. Plus the other things, like you said, chair shots to the head are a thing and why they don't do them anymore. But Soapy, to end the podcast, we're going to, like I told you before we started recording, any little segment that you want to make a thing, we can make a thing. Like for me, I'm going to do after everyone Ricky's match rankings, where I rank every match on the card. For you, you have one for this one. If this becomes a thing, it becomes a thing. If not, then it doesn't. But Soapy's production blotch of the pay-per-view. What is it?
Goddamn, turn the music down! I know I sound like a fucking old man when I have to say that, but like whenever they have like the pay-per-view theme playing and they're talking like, and you have commentators talking, you can't fucking hear them. Like, they had the one. I think it was in between the Cruiserweight and the Guerrero fight. They literally the Taz it's JR is screaming into his fucking microphone and you can't hear him. You can hear he's putting his heart and soul into sell this match, and all you hear is a stupid fucking guitar riff over him. Where it's like, turn the goddamn theme down. I don't know if that was just something they did once they moved to Peacock. There are some times that like they'll randomly just turn music up.
Yeah.
Like I have like a fucking DVD of one pay-per-view. I don't remember what pay-per-view it is, but like the theme on the network is so much louder than on the DVD.
Yeah.
And I was like, why the fuck is that a thing? Just turn the goddamn music down. I don't want to sound like a goddamn old man, but like, turn the damn music down. You're waking me up.
No, I agree. I agree. Like some of the the worst is like Netflix. Netflix is a big towards you'll be sitting there watching it. You're like, okay, cool. I got a nice volume. Then music will come on. It'll be like, it's like, whoa, turn it down. Why are we so loud? I don't want to wake up the entire family while I'm trying to watch this show. But no, you said that happened after the Cruiserweight one.
It happened between every single fucking time the pay-per-view theme came on.
I'm going to have to go back. I didn't notice that. But yet again, half of that stuff I'm not paying attention to. I'm just
I'm just super anal about anything like that. Like, I'm just really nitpicky.
Yeah.
Or it's just listen to the beginning of the pay-per-view when Cole and Taz are trying to talk. You can't hear them.
Yeah.
You just hear a little bit of Cole. Like, you can't hear Taz at all. Taz, you just yeah, Cole. That's the most you can hear from Taz.
AJ's in the back, Cole. Banana juice.
You guys got the one thing Cole fucking said that Taz said for 90% of his time in the commentary. Yeah, Cole.
Yeah, Cole. Oh, let's see. So I just thought about something in my head, Soapy. So what I wanted to do before I get to my match reviews, we got to decide this. So obviously it doesn't really matter when it comes to this one, because obviously this is our first one. But when it comes to ranking these pay-per-views overall, we want it to be a consensus one, right? So you and I will probably decide beforehand of for example, the next one we do. All right, should this go above or below Royal Rumble 2004? Or do we have them
do it separate?
Or do we have them separate?
And then we'll just fucking nonstop argue until one of us gets our way.
Good point.
It's literally which stubborn motherfucker gets their point this time.
Good. You make a good point, Soapy. So what I'm going to do...
I know how stubborn both of us are, and we're just going to be like, no, stupid motherfucker, it's mine. I'm right, you're wrong.
So, okay, that makes sense. So then, this one, it won't matter, but usually how we're going to do it, Soapy, is I've created a doc. I'm going to share it with you. After this, it's basically going to be, so how we do each one's in the end is, so I give my match rankings, and then we will rank these pay-per-views. So in the end, the more we do, we will have rankings for what the best pay-per-views are overall, and then also what the best Rumble is overall. If we do Royal Rumble, let's say 1997, that'll get added not only to the overall, but to the Royal Rumble rankings as well, so we can decide who's the best individual pay-per-view as well. Like I said, for this one, doesn't matter because this is the first one we're doing. So Royal Rumble 04, enjoy your spot at number 1, technically, while you have it, because you're the only one that we've done. No, it ain't gonna last. There are pay-per-views better than this one. But
hey, if my suggestion makes it in, Ricky, it has a chance to stay at 1.
It has a chance. So you're saying there's a chance. So
I mean, 2004 can hope.
We'll see if Soapy agrees with my match rankings. I'm gonna have a graphic come up. I'm gonna have nice little. Right now, it's not gonna come up, Soapy, but post-editing Ricky will have a graphic come up for all these. But my Ricky's match rankings for Royal Rumble 04, I'll start at number 6. It's easy. It's the tables match between Evolution and the Dudley Boys. Probably shouldn't have even happened. Like, I blinked and this match was over. If I blinked and that match was over, number 5, half a blink. I blinked one eye and it was over. Number 5 is the Cruiserweight match between Rey Mysterio and Jamie Noble. Number 4 is the singles match for the WWE Championship, Brock Lesnar and Hardcore Holly. And then the top 3, to me, is easy. Like, the Guerrero singles match, easily a top 3 match. That one's at number 3. The Royal Rumble match is at 2, and I feel like it's only at 2 because of the ending and the, like, significance of Benoit winning and how he won and what it leads up into. But obviously, the best match of this pay-per-view by far is the Last Man Standings match between Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Obviously, you guys are going to let me know what you think about these rankings, but Soapy, do you disagree with anything that I have in my rankings?
Oh, I think that's a perfectly fine one.
So Soapy's like, this one's so bad, Ricky, that it's like there's not much of a debate. Like, maybe the Guerreros could have been 2.
No, I wouldn't have put them 2. Yeah, honestly, I mean, just going into this, I'll honestly even say this paper kind of let me down.
Yeah.
I thought this one was going to be a lot better because this is a Royal Rumble that I knew. Like, obviously, older pay-per-views, if I know them, like, obviously they kind of have a significance. Yeah. I'm not saying just because I know them, but because, like, it's just kind of a common knowledge one. But, like, so I went into this expecting, like, oh my god, this is going to be such a good Rumble. Like, can't believe it. And I'm just, by the end, I'm like, how did I just watch?
What did I just watch? If you were Meltzer, what would you give the show overall?
2.5 stars.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get going until the Guerrero match is good, and then it's just the last 2, the Last Standing and the Royal Rumble are the only 2 matches that were like, because like we've talked about Brock Lesnar and Hardcore Holly. One of them didn't even care about the match, and it was cut right before they came out to do the match that, hey, half of what you're going to do is not going to be viable. Go ahead, have a match.
Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, not every pay-per-view is going to be as good as we remember.
No, and thank you yet again for Tim. Tim was the one that was a big proponent of the Royal Rumble 04 being nominated. The patrons then voted upon it. This is where you guys come in. Let us know down below. What did you guys think of the Rumble? Like, I didn't mention before, go watch it on Peacock and then come back and watch this. Like, we're a companion now. You can go ahead and watch it and then let us know what you think. This now comes back into of where it comes to you. What pay-per-view do you want us to watch? Could be a WWE. Like, here's the thing. WWE pay-per-views are easy. So is WCW. NXT, obviously. You can do NXT, of course. Is there a place to watch TNA pay-per-view, Soapy?
I think so. I don't know if their website works.
Yeah.
Last time I tried it, that thing turned out to be dog shit.
I was going to say WWE, NXT, and WCW will probably be at the top of the list, but if you would like a TNA pay-per-view, go ahead and mention it. Like AEW, they don't have a network, so like you can't go back and like watch old pay-per-views from AEW, correct?
I mean, I think you'd have to buy them through Fight TV, and I'm not spending $60 to review a fucking pay-per-view.
No, I'm not. Unless it's like one that I already bought and I can go ahead and rewatch.
I was gonna say I only bought like 2.
Yeah.
So mind you, that limits it quite a bit.
So like right now, WWE, WCW, NXT are the main ones that we have, but like comment down below. We'll make it work. Like, and yet again, if you say an AEW,
if you guys can let us know.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, if you guys can let us know, like, if there's a way we can watch New Japan,
Mm-hmm.
if you can find a way, like, obviously,
I'll watch it if there's a way.
If there's a way, and I don't have to pay money for it, or at least a shit ton of money, shit.
Yeah, I'll fucking do it. Like, wrestling is wrestling to me. I'll go ahead and watch it. We only did WWE because it's easily accessible because of Peacock. And both of us can watch it. But let us know. Nominate a pay-per-view down below if you want us to review anything, kind of discuss, and have a podcast about it. Join the Patreon page down below. Gold members get these podcasts a week before everyone else. And silver members get to basically, like, silver and gold get to vote for the official vote for each and every pay-per-view. And then also we have the gold members get the pay-per-views a week early. So go ahead. These will be coming out every Friday, bi-weekly. So once Patreon 1 is going ahead for the everyone else, the day that you should be watching this live, let me pull it up. So it should be December 10th, even though it's not December 10th when Soapy and I are recording this. In 2 weeks will be our next one. At the time of recording, we do not know what that will be. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter, MVP_vids, to find out what that will be, because we'll probably know ahead of time. Thank you guys for being as great as you always are. Thank you to my tag team partner over here to the, right of me, Soapy Muffins. We will be back reviewing another pay-per-view, and as always, have a good day, everybody.
Fuck Masters.